and welcome each and every one of you to Blueprints of the New. My name is Alexis Sersha, and I'm broadcasting from far north Queensland, which is on a south northeast side of Australia on the southern hemisphere. So it is morning for us here, and we're just waiting for everyone to kind of log in and come in and settle in, and for everyone participates. Each and every one of you participates in this. So just enjoy the energy, feel the energy, and allow yourself to feel your own energy, because it is you who bring all of these wonderful things to this safe space. And together we create a safe space that magnifies every time we meet like this together, and we give each other support and comfort and love and sharing. Even though I'm the one here speaking, but each and every one of you is very, very much present. And we welcome also all our non-physical friends. They are here also. And if you can feel them, Yeshua is here, and St Germain, of course, and Michael, who I am too. And well, I welcome for all that are still joining in right now. And I would like to, before uh, the show takes over, I would like to just point out a few things on my website. If you haven't already, please check it out. There are private sessions. You can have an individual one, or you can have a bundle. Bundle really works for some that want to go deeper with their things, and they're very individualized. So the journeys are very individualized. We start where you are and we go from there, and the energies are strong. They work with you because you choose, and also then you make a choice to go on this journey. And also, Yeshua and Mikhail will be presenting a 3 month class, Essence, and it is about allowing, and for some, even recognizing that they have a Christ essence, allowing it to come into your consciousness, how to feel it, how to be with it in this daily life. And it is what a time we live in. So that will start in November. My mind, you know, goes on a holiday when such strong energies are present. So I just have to accept that there are little errors and I forget and I jump. But my mind does serve me in a wonderful way. It's helped me to organize all of the technical details before the show. And then straight away, we have to move into quite a different sort of area of my own being. So I'm quite amazed at all of the things that can happen and do happen when you allow. Even a few years ago, I would never have thought that I would be doing this kind of show. I was in this way too shy, too self-conscious. But creativity and passion just takes you on this journey, and all I do is follow the insights, follow the little inclinations and very strong feelings that I get on my walks and everyday life, on all of the different ideas all of a sudden then lighten up within me. And then I have to choose whether I take those steps to go forward or not. But they are everything we do these days, because we are doing the embodiment. We are, if allowing our greater self. And by greater, I don't mean bigger than the human, as in like more important, but greater in vastness, in experience, in timelessness, to be here within this physical reality that is quite limited, that does take, that does work within the confines of time. It is very, very interesting experience to experience this. So for many of you, and I welcome all of those people that are logging in for the first time as well. Um, you're welcome too. And if some of the things are over your head, don't worry, because you can just bask in the energy as well. So being physical has its own challenges, and being spirit walking within this physical reality among all of those people that are still unawakened, that are experiencing so much fear at the moment, has its own challenges. And not the least, one of those things is just to allow myself, to be happy, to be joyful, to be feeling all these wonderful things that I'm feeling and experiencing. Like I live like in my own little parallel world while walking with alongside those that are so fearful at the moment. And but for each and every one of you that is here, you have made certain choices, you have made certain discoveries, and for some of you, you are at that threshold where you are stepping into your own full realization. So, each and every one of you is at that space where, at the perfect place for yourself, at within your perfect story that you are creating, that you are constantly creating. And being embodied, allowing the presence of your own soul self, your higher self, your I am, however you define, and we're not going to go into technical details on which part is called what, because in the end, they all kind of not merge. They're all one, but they are many. So during my daily life, I don't go about thinking, oh, this is Mikhail, this is me, this is my I am. It is, there is just too much to experience and too much to sense and too much to feel when I am out of the mind, out of having to define all of those things. And so here we are, Mikhail. And you see how easy it is to allow your I am to come forward. And Alex calls us the slow mo because everything seems to go into slow motion for her when we step forward. We are always present, but it's just that we step forward more into the consciousness, more into that focal point, and we perceive everything in such vastness, in such grandness, which we bring the timelessness that we are, the light that we are with us. So everything gets extra depth, all of the feelings become even more alive, all of the senses become even more alive, with depth, with breadth, with width, in all different directions. And then we step back. And here it is me, Alex, again. You see, so how seamless this is. It is natural and it is not forced. It is but a dance because it's like when I realize myself as to who I am, when I allow that to be. The names but matter. The names don't matter, but there are different perceptions. So I know where, when I am that I am is in the focal point, because everything does go slow motion. And having loads and loads of humor, I do call Michaela slow mo man at times, or a woman, depending on whether she comes as a feminine presence or as a masculine presence, or both neutral. You see, there are so many experiences that that happen during the day, that boredom is not even a word that I would ever use. It is just so it's meaningless, it's incomprehensible to be bored. And the feelings become, be, when they're clear, they become such fine-tuned instruments, and I feel so many different things that I don't even have the words to describe. But geez, they are beautiful. They're amazing in their subtlety, in their intensity, in their passion, in their width, because when I allow myself to expand, especially for example in a place where I'm with nature, or with good friends, I can feel, I can touch all of the different things with my feelings. You see, because they are my, like an extended senses, like almost like tentacles where they go out and feel and touch and taste. So they are the senses also, and they reflect back. the dance of my own energy, the dance of my creation. So I could go on talking like this for a long, long time. But we're going to, I wanted to sort of explain a little bit also about the channeling, because there are a number of people that ask, but isn't, for example, I'm still channeling, still, it's not really true, because for me it's fairly new. I only started channeling for others, on behalf of others, a couple of years ago, when Yeshua asked me whether I wanted to channel on behalf of him. So when I allow Mikhail, my own I am, forward, I don't call that channeling, because that is me. It is I am. It is all who I am. But when I channel for others, you see, there is a time and space for that as well. And I do it because for it is my joy. It is my joy to do, because it is so much fun. And it is so much fun to play with the non-physical friends, of which we have so many. Because once you are clear, once you understand them, once you can communicate with them, they are always present. And also you have your own privacy, of course, and yet they are just but a breath away, because when you think of them, when I feel them, they also become aware of me, and you can have a conversation. So before the episodes, before the webinars, the live channels, like a week or couple of weeks before, when before the private sessions, for me it's just a big adventure, because that being, whomever is going to be doing the show, comes forward, and then I have a lot of experiences with them, because we sort of work on a material together, and I have to be able to be clear on the material that I'm going to be presenting. So it is my joy. It is, I'm doing it for me, because it is part of my own abundance of experience that I experience, and then it bubbles over and I can share with others. So it's not like some kind of, a job or work. It's not like, even though it does have those kind of parts, it has very practical parts to it. Um, but everything is just like this joy of creativity, joy of being, joy of also courage, because like the bar gets lifted all the time, and I have to allow myself to be clear, so that I can present the next level, so that I can allow all of these energies to flow through me. And there are so many experiences with that 1 hour is too short to explain. But it's not, channeling is not out of fashion yet, because majority of people, and especially those ones that are just awakening, or that have just awakened and are exploring this, they do not hear, they are not in a place yet where they can hear our non-physical friends. So channeling is definitely not out of fashion, or its time has not finished. And yet absolutely, for those that are in a place where they can speak on behalf of all of who they are, on behalf of I am that I am. They don't need to identify a name. They can just call themselves whatever they wish, or they can hear, their own individualized soul's name. It matters not, because all, you see, once you perhaps step is not the right word, but once you enter a certain stage, a certain, mm, perhaps level, whatever word that I use, all the rules fall off. You see, there are no rules, there are no regulations. I make my own rules within that space. And then I play with others in that space. You see, so there isn't like you can read a book, okay, after you realize, then this is what you have to do. It's but a plain canvas upon which I paint my own painting, and then I invite friends to paint with me, and we create these beautiful pictures. And we do it out of joy. I do it out of joy, out of my own abundance, out of my own bubbling over of this joy and desire to share this joy with others. So how long I will be channeling on behalf of others, who knows? Because like it is also a surprise to me when recently St Germain asked me to channel on behalf of him. I've worked for him for a very worked with him, but on my own stuff for a very, very long time. But he hasn't asked me to channel, and it was a surprise for me as well, you see. So it is just like friends, non physical friends are in many ways just as your physical friends. So they come up with things, some things you say no, some things you say yes, and some things you're very, very excited about. And then I had to consider all of the things that he comes with. He comes with quite a lot of things, a lot of baggage with him. So I've had to consider all of the things that whether I'm going, whether that is suitable for me, whether it will work for me. And then I've realized that yes, absolutely. So you see, it is part of this new dance, part of this joy that we do all of these things. We can, there is no rule how on and on behalf of who we're going to speak, as long as there is clarity, as long as there is integrity. Channeling is not our history. Perhaps for some certain individuals, for sure, that perhaps have been doing it for a long time, and perhaps the day will come when I will also say, okay, this now I do something different, but not at the moment, not at the moment. It is not that time. So I wanted to share this with you, just so that that you realize that there is so much as encouragement for those people that are still in those throes of integration, of integrating their shadow, of getting to know and dancing with all of the parts that have been denied. You come out of that. And when you think, when you first discover and awaken, and then you integrate, and then you go through your dark night of the soul times over and over again, you feel that that is kind of like, so many times you feel like that is the beginning. But really the beginning is only when once you've integrated. It's not the end, it is the end of a certain period. But then you have this vastness of timelessness, really, to experience whatever it is that you're going to experience. So some of you are at this most wonderful place now, and I congratulate you, because this work has required so much dedication. This work has required so much grit and courage and all sorts. And yet you can't imagine anymore the life without it. It is just such a different thing, and such a different experience. And I can hear I can hear Saint Germain in the background. He says that I've talked enough. So yes, I am Saint Germain. And dear friends, I greet you. Yes, each and every one of you, I greet you. And if you are attracted, if you were resonating with this show, then yes, of course, I have known you for many, many lifetimes. For those ones who are still who are at the forefront, you have been at this, for many, many lifetimes. And what a journey it's been, what an adventure it's been. And now you're getting your dividends, are you not? When you purchase some shares and stuff like that, and you get dividends and you get your payback. And yes, why shouldn't we talk about it in this way? For we are not, we are not fluffy beings, are we not? We're gritty, because when you come to this end, when you come to this side, you have looked at yourself. You have looked at your shadow self. For there is nothing scarier than this. For you see other people still in the throes of their addictions, doing everything, but everything to hide themselves, to distract themselves. And yet, this is no longer paying off, is it not? For we are going to talk today about the foundation. So, what kind of foundation are you building for yourself? What kind of foundation have you built for yourself? As Yeshua has talked about it 2,000 years ago, is it going to be, is it your house, your inner house, made of straw? Or is it made of bricks? Or is it made of timeless stones? For now you have the storms and the winds very much present in your physical reality, do you not? So, how is your house? Have you allowed yourself to step out of that little mind? Are you allowing yourself on a continual basis to be stepping out into the depths of you, into that part that is timeless? For that is the only solution now, is it not? There are no other solutions, because you see that everything else that humanity tries and tries this and that, and it falls apart like a house of straw, does it not? But for you, I know you, dear friends. You have been building and building and building the house of strong foundations, the house that will withstand the test of time, just like the great pyramids. They have withstood all the wars, all the calamities, all the weathers and the fires and the storms. They have withstood because they are built with strong foundations. And we and others, we have talked about this, and as you know, you have been experiencing this. And yet we need this reminder in these times. For more and more is coming every day. What it looks like as a destruction, but it is a destruction of the old world. And you see that a lot of the humanity, a lot of the mass consciousness is still trying, desperately trying to cling to the old, to cling to all of those foundations that no longer work. So, this stepping out of your mind, you see, it's within your mind, it's within your thoughts that fear lives. Fear doesn't live in the greater part of yourself. Fear doesn't live in the I am that I am. I am that I am knows not the fear. It is within the mind. It is the era. Well, it was an interesting experience, but it no longer is. For it was the era that has happened. It was the era that has been created when when you have made yourself, when you have squashed yourself into this tiny space that is called the mind. But the mind doesn't have the solutions. The mind doesn't have anything. It's powerless to what is happening now, is powerless to this great awakening. And this is as it should be. And yet, for the human self who still relies, trying to find the solutions of the mind, fear is all they have. Panic is all they have. Anxiety, depression is all they have. For, of course, in the mind, there is no solution to what is going on. And when you allow yourself to step into the greater being of your own self, you realize there is nothing to be fearful of. You realize that you are timeless, that you are forever, that you always have been, you always will be. So, how can there be fear? So, what it requires of you, even in these depths, when you fall, when you forget, when you fall into the old patterns of thinking, step out of that. Just stop in that moment and allow and breathe and allow that greater part of you to come into the focus, to come into your consciousness and play in that space and allow yourself to feel exuberant and joyful and loving. And yes, when you first go there, as you that have been around for a very long time in this know, there is a lot of what it feels like darkness there, of course, the shadow self. But even that You walk through it because you get help. You get help from the I am that I am, and you're guided and you are protected throughout. Even though to the human self it does not feel like it. And yet, even the human self is fascinated, is mesmerized by that I am that I am. Cannot go back to the old ways. Because once you are touched as a human self by your greater self, you cannot go back to the old way of being. Because it is your natural state of being, the freedom to be who you are, the freedom to think what you want to think, the freedom to feel what you want to feel. And this has been for many buried deep inside of you. And you know nothing of great value gets lost. For there have been times when you have felt that everything was lost, that all your beauty, that all your gentleness, that all your divine self was polluted and lost. And yet you are discovering that nothing has been lost. It's been saved, it's been held deep inside of you by that shadow self, the shadow self of whom you felt shame, of whom you didn't want to know for such a long time. And yet it was it that held the most precious gifts for you for this time. For this time now is safe for you to allow yourself the joy, the creativity, the gentleness, the memories of who you really are, the experiences. And these memories, they don't come often in the images of the mind. They come as feelings. They come as who you be, who you are. You see, in these things, to experience this, it requires, of course, your own determination in this way, that you keep choosing that. You see, you have to feel your being is a timeless being. You have to feel that. You have to experience that. In the face of all that is happening now, you have to keep choosing to feel joy. You have to keep choosing to feel the expanded you. You have to keep choosing to feel safe, even when the circumstances outside are not safe or they don't look safe to the human self. For when you are enveloped with smoke, when you are enveloped, perhaps you find yourself in the big storm, surrounded by that. It is then that you are asked to step into this safety. And only Master can do that. Only Master can step through those walls that the fear has created. For you see, you are absolutely, absolutely safe. I invite you to feel that now. This absolute safety that permeates your body. Perhaps it starts from your little toes, big toes. Perhaps for some of you, it starts from the top of the head and goes down. And for some, it starts in the feet and goes up. You see, even here, there are no rules how you're going to experience this. For some of you, you have all these different places in the body where you can actually go and feel this safety. And for others, it changes. So remember, bring those memories of that safety when you felt safe. And yes, there are some present that have never experienced that. And I invite you to imagine that safety. How would it feel? And then allow it. And then, of course, you hit those walls that say, no, 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 but you shouldn't feel safe because it is not time to feel safe. That's what those walls are saying. And yet, what do you do in those times? You just let those walls speak and you keep breathing them in, and you will then see how thin they are, how powerless they are, how unnatural they are. and you will walk through them, and you will melt them, and you will disarm them, whatever word that you use. And once you have this experience for the first time, for those that are fairly new, you will know how to do it the next time. You see, the survival fear has been the greatest fear that has kept people going to jobs they don't like, doing things they don't like, doing things that went against their consciousness, against their soul. And they're not proud of that. What you had to do in the past just to appease this fear of survival, fear of safety. And for many you can feel now, regardless of which space you occupy now within yourself, you can feel the mass consciousness, this survival fear. You can feel it sometimes all around you, especially for those that live in the cities, that live in very populated areas. It can be very palpable. So for you, you have created a challenge for yourself because you have to constantly be stepping into this space of safety until it becomes so natural that you no longer know fear. Because you do come to a place, you do come to, because I know that it can feel like you keep having to repeat over and over and over again this stepping into the safety, stepping into the safety, stepping into the joy. And then one day it does, I promise you, dear friends, one day it does become natural. It is who you become. And then it's the other side that it becomes unnatural as it should be. And yet you experience at times a lot of frustrations, a lot of questions, a lot of doubt. And this too is natural. Just allow them to be. Even though, yes, I can hear some of you say, but they are so annoying. I've had enough of this. It feels like that's all I am feeling, frustration. The old things, the same things coming up, the abundance issues, these issues. And yet, dear friends, these too shall pass. I promise you. If you choose, if you would, and you have, for otherwise you would not be here. For in this space that we are becoming, for some already are, and for some becoming these masters of your own energy. Yes, it does feel like it's taking a long time, but trust me, friends, in the scheme of things, you are doing an amazing job. You are doing such a quick job in the scheme of things. You have done this in such a short amount of time, in such a short amount of time that your non-physical friends at times thought you're going to explode. We thought at times that we doubted that you would be able to do it at times. And yet you surprised us. How about that? Can we be surprised? The ascended masters, can we be surprised? Of course we can. For remember, the journey just begins after you've integrated, after you've realized. That's when your life just begins in all these different ways. And I am reminding you of this just to give you the encouragement, because for some of you, you are in those depths of the darkness of your soul, and you feel like, oh, how am I going to get through this? How am I going to get through this? You will, dear friends. And what is waiting for you? What is waiting for you on the other side of this integration? Believe me, there's just so much joy, so much adventure, so much freedom, and such an honor for the work that you have done. And yes, you will not find yourself on the front page of the normal newspapers or in the news. No, you will not find yourself, for they still do not recognize you, for they are blind to what is really going on in the world. You see, it is like for many of you, you have noticed how you are seemingly going out of the duality, and yet the world seems to have split in two. There are many who are experiencing the best of times, the best times in their life, because these are the fruits of their labor. And yet, as you know, some people are still walking around, are not even aware of what's going on in this world. They're not even aware of all this beautiful creativity that people are now allowing themselves to express, whether it is in music, whether it is in art, because these people are not actually playing with the mainstream media at all. So for those that are in the depths of the mainstream media, they have no idea. They're still in their little box. And yet for others, they're discovering just how huge the world is, how huge life is, beyond the fear, and how wonderful and how many potentials each and every one of you have. For once you have done the main things, the main stuff of your integrations, dear ones, and for so many of you, you are there. You are there, even though it seems like, because all these last bits and pieces are coming up and they're raising their heads. And they seem to be like big heads, and then you prick them, and they're just like hot air balloons with nothing inside them, just a thin little thing. You are nearly there. It's just a breath, a step to choose to allow that realization, to allow you to become you. And so we celebrate with your non physical friends. We celebrate as we watch this reality show, and our hearts are also overjoyed. For this, me too, Saint Germain. I have been waiting for this for a very long time as well, as have others. And it is the most amazing times, because we didn't know for how many of you will realize. We didn't know whether this is all going to work out, whether you will be in big numbers, in bigger numbers, in numbers that will allow the awakening of humanity. For the humanity is going and will be going through a lot of calamity for some time, because, as you know, what was that like for you? The carpet keeps being pulled, the rug keeps being pulled under your feet. So from whatever you're trying to do in the old ways, from what however you're trying to live and get those foundations, well, from, if you're drawing your foundations from the old ways that don't work, of course the carpet's going to be pulled from underneath your feet, because you need to find a new way. You need to find a more inclusive way, an inclusive way of your I am, of your soul self, of your higher self. And yet, for some, this is still just a dream. You see, it is a dream to hear clearly, to understand clearly your own soul self. And you wonder, how do you do this? How do you feel this? And yet, you see, to us, your non-physical friends, as we watch you, this is very hilarious to watch, because you would not be here. You are guided all the time by your own soul self, otherwise you would not be here, otherwise you would not be stepping, walking this path, walking this journey. You could not have done it through the mind, for the mind knows not of this journey. The mind knows nothing about this journey, doesn't know the plan, doesn't know the map. So you see, it is funny when you say, well, I don't hear my soul, I don't understand my soul. All you're doing is not allowing yourself the conscious awareness of your communication with your soul self. You see, for soul self does not speak in words. Soul self speaks like nature speaks, like trees speak. How do you know the trees speak with you? For they have told you, for when you go for a walk and you feel wonderful. Why do you feel wonderful? Because you have communed, you have communicated, you have understood what nature was saying to you. So next time when you walk, Become conscious. Allow yourself this awareness of how you are. You see, all of the things are already present within you. Absolutely everything is already present within you, but you need to allow it to become your experience. So when you allow the soul self to speak to you, you need to experience what that feels like, what that hears like, what that sounds like within you. You see, you cannot read about it, you can look at others, but eventually, sooner or later, if you have chosen this, you will need to experience that. And it will be different than what the mind has imagined. And it will be unmistakable. And once you know it, you see, because your soul self, your I am that I am, carries with it all the knowledge. So one thing leads to another. You see, so once you become aware of your soul self, its language, then you also realize that you are absolutely able to understand her, able to interpret her, able to know what she means. The human self doesn't always want to listen, but always understands. Even now, you understand. You are just not allowing yourself to become aware. And all the solutions, all the abilities are already within you. They are not on the outside. And as you experience, perhaps for some of you the first time, and then you just have to you have to allow that experience to become daily part of you. And it is this how you commune, you understand, and then how you act on your communication with your soul self. You see, and this is how you keep changing your life. But it is within the daily life that this happens. Within everyday life, for your soul self is absolutely aware of everything that is going on within your life. It knows your family, it knows your body, it knows your health issues, it knows your schedule. Yes, that is the most amazing thing. Your soul knows your schedule. And you will see that for some of you are using this excuse, but I can't because I have children, I have jobs, I have commitments, I have all sorts of things. But you will find, and you do find, that somehow everything gets fits in, because the integration, when they happen when you have the time off, because your soul knows when your time off is, you see. So you will see that everything just somehow falls into place. You don't have to think about it, you don't have to plan. Yes, the mind, the human self, have to do the physical things. You know, if there's something happening on the internet, you have to switch on the computer, you have to have internet, you have to have Wi-Fi, you see. So your soul self becomes very physical. Your soul self, when you allow her in, is involved in every detail of your life. And it is not an overbearing thing, but it's that of a support, is that of being held within the arms of your soul. And that is such an orgasmic, wonderful feeling. Not only that, but you gain all these abilities, and every day you discover something new within your day. Every day you discover things that you didn't know that you could do, things that you can download from your other lives, from the abilities you see, because everything that your soul self contains, that's just a word, it's accessible to you. But your daily experience needs to be on the ongoing basis until it becomes very natural, is that you constantly change, is that you constantly expand as a human being, is that you befriend this change. You see, you can become something and all of a sudden you feel great. You have integrated something and it feels great. And yes, absolutely celebrate. But then that also wants to change, because the soul self is always flowing and moving and expanding, wants to experience, it wants to play, it wants to dance, it wants to try, it wants to taste, it wants to feel, it wants to play you, the human, as this beautiful, most divine of instruments. It wants to be with you, as you, in your daily life. And so we 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 every day experience something new. We every day allow ourselves to change. And what we were yesterday is a history, and looks, even though, yes, when now was yesterday, we felt that was huge, was big. The next day, in the next now moment, even that becomes small, because we do change, you see. So you, every day you need to, need, if you choose, you experience yourself in a new way. You experience yourself expanded. You experience yourself as something different, a new discovery, a new insight, a new way of being, new suggestion, new way of doing things. You see, and for those that are saying, well, my life constantly just feels the same, it is the same. I feel like I'm caught in this sameness and I can't get out. It is because allow something different, speak differently, dress differently, perhaps put on a different perfume. You see, perhaps do go a different route, even if you have to drive, perhaps to work, take a different route. Go explore, and you will see, you will discover things, even about the places that you know, even if you've lived in a certain place for many, many years, many decades, you will discover things that were there that you weren't aware before. You discover new layers and layers and layers of things. And of course, as you discover new layers outside, it is because you are discovering your own self, your own layers. For all is your energy, all is you, everything that you experience. And for some of you, I can see that you are already owning that. And good for you, because this is where we are going. And for some of you, you are well on your way. But know this, that unless you experience it, you see, you cannot rely on your friends. You cannot rely on your bodies, on someone else to experience. You need to experience. And if you find yourself in conditions that are not to your liking, conditions that are not fit for a master, that are not suitable, then you need to change those. You need to let go what needs to be let go. You need to do what needs to be done, what steps that need to be taken to change those conditions. For you cannot live as a victim and call yourself a master. And how do you keep change? How do you change that? You allow. Yes, simple as it may sound, and simple it is, natural it is, and scary as hell for those that are just starting and have not yet created their safe space within. But, dear friends, I assure you, these are the most majestic of times. These are the times where you can live your dreams, where you can experience your dreams. So I ask you, what is your passion? What is your dream? And now I hear some of you say, but I've lost all my passion. Yes, you have lost your human passion. But just wait until you experience your soul passion. For the human passion was based in a mind. And it is not, you see, it is not the human that will stay within that mind, for the human self was made to expand, to experience. You see, you are absolutely capable, able to match your soul self, to match the I am that I am. For you are that too. You see, and sometimes the human self, when you speak through your mind, you say, but I don't know this. How is it possible? I can't do this. I don't know how to. And yet, within each and every day, you experience a little bit more or a lot more of just how you are capable and able to match everything that the I am that I am brings to the table. You were made for this, for you were made in heaven. The match made in heaven, as Michael often says. You are perfectly adapted. You are perfectly made to meet your I am that I am within any circumstances that you find yourself. And yes, I can hear some of you saying, because you find yourself perhaps surrounded by heaviness of mass consciousness, perhaps surrounded by the patriarchal, all these layers and layers and layers of old energy. Allow it to flow through you. Don't own it, for it is not you anymore. And yet it has to be dislodged, it has to be flowing again. All these old structures have to be flowing so that they can change. And yes, for Alex has just reminded me, because she has forgotten to say that there's a Q&A for those of you who are on Zoom. You can type in and send questions if you like. There should be a Q&A button on the bottom of your screen. And for others, for the next time, you can email or PM your questions as well if you have them. But make sure they arrive at least by an hour before the show. All right, so let's see what questions we have today. We have some questions that have arrived by email. Okay, during this journey, there have been many frustrating challenges indeed. It seems as though I could have experienced them with much more grace, peace, and satisfaction. I find myself asking why my eternal self did not prepare me more fully for each of these situations. Please offer some insights. Thank you. You see, all of the frustrating challenges, you see, within this life, where you have chosen your realization, or even if you have not chosen to go all the way, you have chosen to, you have awakened and you are integrating. What you are faced with the biggest challenges ever. It is one of the most challenging lifetimes that you are ever going to have, because you are breaking through these walls and walls and, you know, ancestral karma and all of these things that you have collected within your energy, that you have created, that you have solidified within your energy. So once you are on the other side of the realization, you will look back and you realize how little those challenges really were. You see, it's just all a matter of perspective. Just like I mentioned before, the mind doesn't have the solutions, the mind doesn't have the answers. So, in the lifetime, just like what is happening with humanity now, when you are still in your mind, in the small box of the mind, then the challenges that you are presented with during this time, in order for you to awaken, to break through, to start relying on your own grander self, on your own soul self, to the mind those challenges look huge. And it would appear from that perspective, from the perspective of the mind, that you are not capable, that you are not able to meet those challenges. And that is correct, because the mind self is not. And yet we see, when you allow your timeless self to be you, when you allow that awareness, when you allow that into your consciousness, then those challenges that the mind thought, the little mind thought were huge, those challenges become like grains of sand on this endless beach. You see, so it all depends on the perspective. And this is what I talked about today. It is that when you are looking at everything through your mind as your mind, all you have is fear. All you have is things that no solutions, you see, because the mind was not made to have the solutions. It's like, let's say if you went on a bicycle, if you look at a bicycle and then you have a BMW, a new BMW or a super great car, and you have to travel in a day 1,000 kilometers, you can't expect it to do it on a bicycle, you see. But BMW can easily handle it without any problem. The ride is even enjoyable, you see. So this is what I am saying, that when you are trying to find solutions from within your mind, you can't. And the challenges that are presented to you is not only because you are integrating so much, you are releasing so much, you are integrating your shadow, but it is also for the purpose of that you do step out. You see, it makes you, it forces you to step out of it makes you, it forces you, you force yourself to realize that there is the depth of you, to realize that there is more to you than the mind. And once you allow that consciousness to be you, and that consciousness contains all the solutions, then the solutions happen, and you start looking at those things that used to look so huge, and you looked at them with fear, and you look at them with through the eyes of resolutions, and you have the courage, then you have the ability to do the steps that are necessary to resolve those challenges, you see. And then you look back and you think, why did you ever think those challenges were huge? Because you have stepped into the greater part. And it is the same thing as what is happening with the humanity in general at the moment. You see, the challenges that are facing humanity are not solvable through the mind. The humanity, each person within that humanity has to step into their greater part, their greater self, outside of the mind, has to realize that they have a soul. And once you operate from that knowledge, once you feel, once you experience yourself as that soul, and it is a real experience, it's not a hopeful, wishful thinking. It is a real experience, it's a real being, it's a real presence. And through from that space, all the solutions are present, readily present, and in such what would to the mind look like miraculous ways that they resolve themselves. They resolve themselves even in a much, much better way, but a much very practical way too than what your mind could have ever imagined, you see, because your mind was not made to go 1,000 kilometers in few hours, but BMW was made. So this is just an analogy. It's not a perfect analogy, but you see what we mean. So I would encourage you to keep, to not focus on this and not look at yourself. You see, don't perceive yourself as being small, that the challenges are so big. Get into this practice where you every day step into your I am, your master self, and you feel that. And initially, of course, you feel you're pretending, but just feel yourself. And when you find yourself seeing yourself as a small helpless victim being, say no, no more, no, 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 I'm not falling for that again. And you just keep stepping into being a master, and you keep stepping into being a master, and you keep stepping into being a master. And sometimes you will have to do that every minute, minute by minute by minute, every 5 minutes, every time you remember, until, like I mentioned, you all of a sudden realize that this is a natural way of being, an easy way of being. This is who you are, this grand self, master self I am. Thank you, dear one. Dear Saint Germain, you know me, you know who I am. Right now, it seems everything is falling apart around me for me. My commitment in this, my last lifetime, is embodied realization. Is my marriage just a distraction, or is it any hope for us? Please help me with clarity about this. Thank you. Yes, I do know you. I have known you for a very, very long time. For we have traveled together for many, many lifetimes. And yes, for you also, you see, it feels like the rug is being pulled underneath your feet. For anything, everything that is not real is breaking down. Everything that is not real will fall apart. For it is only the strong foundation, the realness, that will stay. And if it's not already present, you need to create it, you need to allow it into your life. So relationship that you're in has got a lot of very karmic components. And it is a challenge that you have given yourself, for it is quite a challenge for two people to do the realization together. For very often one will be as a support and one will be as the one that goes first. You see, there is great, great love between you, and yet that love is masked by so many things that you have experienced, by so many things that you've brought from other lifetimes to resolve. And not only that you have brought them for between the two of you, but each and every one of you are working through your own integration things. You see, it is not, when you are integrating, it is not a time of nothing happening. It is not a time when you will experience just peace. For everything, your shadow self, everything comes into your face. So be at peace, at a deeper peace, dear one, for you are absolutely where you're supposed to be, and look and face at everything that is happening for you. For you are freeing yourself from the confines of of a relationship. And I don't mean a relationship with this other person, but within you, the way you looked at relating with another person. And this goes for each and every person, each and every one that is going through this. You have got such ideas and experiences of relationship as being enslavement rather than freedom, you see. So you are now working through all of the issues, all of the feelings, all of the emotions. So it is natural that the relationship is stimulus. Will it survive? Will it not survive? You see, these kind of things matter not, because this is the mind's way of thinking. Why are you worrying about the future? Because you bring yourself to the now moment. What are you experiencing right now? Every time, ask yourself, what feelings, what emotions am I experiencing within this relationship right now? Because when you are thinking about the future, you are in your mind, and you need to bring yourself to the now moment, to the feelings, to the emotions, to the situation of the now. And you will see that as you are in that, and as you allow the presence of your I am to be with you within that situation, you will know how to clear, you will know how to release what needs to be released, you will know what steps need to be taken. And if it comes to a point where you the relationship will go apart, you will be in a space where it will come from your joy, from your sense of freedom, that you will leave relationship not out of fear, you see. So when you do it with your soul, everything works for the best. And you, when you let go of things and when you allow new things to come into your life, you don't do it because you are in pain or in fear. You come, you naturally grow to that place, to that space within you where it is the right thing to do, where it is the right thing to let go. And if it comes that you choose, you see, I'm not going to tell you about the future of your relationship because this is between the two of you. It is up to you to choose every day. So, and if you choose to keep staying together, it will be from that joy. It will be from choosing from that happiness and joy and self-love, you see. So it's not that you are forcing yourself, but you are, you see, from cultural points of view, you carry, not just you, every person carries so much conditioning, so much erroneous thinking, so many um, projections within the relationship that have to be cleared out, that have to be resolved, that have to be cleansed. Because remember, dear one, you are eternal. So there isn't any other human being or even non physical being that you will be for eternity locked together in a relationship. You see, so when you realize this freedom, then you can actually appreciate everything even more because you know that it is any relationship that you have with anybody is for a limited time in that kind of form. You see, it doesn't mean that you will not know this being as an I am for eternity, but for what you have as two human beings, it is for a limited time, and then you can appreciate it more. You can appreciate every moment for what it is, for the joyful choice that the two of you are together, that you have made to be together. But all of this can resolve, as you know, only with the presence of your I am that I am. You see, so allow, so your only job at the moment in this time of realization is to keep allowing that I am. See, everything else is of secondary importance if that is your choice. And how it's going to play out, you see, it depends on you, it depends on your joy, it depends on your feelings, and of course of that those of the other. But it will all work out with the presence of I am that I am, conscious present. It will all work out in joy, in peace, in satisfaction, in the best interest for both of you. You cannot go wrong when you work with I am that I am. So your only job really is to allow more and more and more that I am to be, not in the future, but in that moment, present with you. And that will bring the wisdom, that will bring the knowledge of what you need to do, what you need to release, how to release, what your next steps are. Dear one, you are very loved in all the ways. Thank you. Okay, let's see if we have any other questions. No, we don't have any other questions. So, again, we greet and say and send much blessings to each and every single one of you, wherever you are, in wherever you are on the globe, and wherever you are on this most wonderful, most magnificent of journeys, this journey that has such rewards for each and every one of you. But if you continue to allow, if you continue to release, if you continue to allow this joy, this expanded awareness, this wonderful presence that is here to be a reality in your life, in your everyday life. From us to you, thank you and much blessings to each and every one of you. Until next time.